Excuse me, folks. Some lovely wispy contrails there. In time honoured tradition, I'm still setting up, folks, so I thought I'd get this FedEx. Hopefully that puts the sound at a softer level. Somebody's doing some flanking. Just realised I've not put my glasses on, although I think sunglasses would have probably been smarter. Note to self, sunglasses for this afternoon stream. Plenty of planes on the move this morning. Ryanair flight to Dublin just pushing back there. Looks like that's going to be first to go. So tell you what I'm going to do, rather than open the show formally, I'm going to jump straight into the chat if I can get the chat up. So, first in the house, Simon Kirby. Good morning, mate. Hope all is good with you. hotly pursued by Ken Alloway. Good morning to you, Ken. First mod in the house. I'm wondering where Eddie is. Eddie, I'm sure you're going to appear somewhere in this chat. Simon Kirby, definitely stunning light this morning. A little bit tricky. On the way here, I noticed it was quite misty and I thought, oh no, I'm not turning out for a fog-bound morning, am I? Bearing in mind we're finishing by 9 o'clock. It kind of lifted, but as you'll have hopefully seen on that FedEx arrival, the mist at the far end of the runway is, yeah, it makes it a little bit tricky. But it looks like it's clearing as we speak. Wayne Tennant, sorry mate, I'll get the tongue in correctly. Bishop Auckland, Wayne, how you doing, buddy? I'm guessing it's sunny there for you. Ken, yeah, those contrails were beautiful. Let's zoom on down. David Palfreyman, good morning to you, David. Hope all is good. Wayne says Chewy will be the first flight. Be interesting if it plays that way. It looks a fairly full apron. I'll just pan us around in a minute. I fancy this Dublin plane is going first, but we'll see. The Chewy plane being a 737 MAX to Palma. Thank you, Wayne. Ken Alloway. Sounds like you need some coffee infusion or tea, whichever your preference. Ditto Simon Kirby. Mark Shepherd. Loading the Jet 2 on... Oh, hang on a minute. Plane's moving at the minute. Let me track to the action, folks. Kind of defeats the object. Stand 2, Jet 2 loading right now. I couldn't resist going for this particular time slot. I know for UK time in particular it's a little bit early, but it's nothing quite like dawn departures. I wasn't sure either which way they were going to run ops. We'll cover the weather in a bit, but basically according to the Met Office it was going to be west-southwesterly, which is the prevailing wind pretty much, but transitioning to something easterly fairly early in the show. The only thing is, in fact I'll show you now, this time enough, the windsock is entirely lifeless, which means they've got tactical flexibility on that one. Now this looks like it's going out 07, which suits me down to the ground and hopefully everybody on the show. So very quickly jump into the good mornings. I was in the chat, wasn't I? I tell you what, let me finish the chat. I think I'm more or less there anyway. So yep, this is the Dublin bound plane. Eddie, if you are in the show, just give me a shout. Ken, I'm in the pink. Actually, I'm always get excited on show days, but it's nice when the sun's shining and you're not wondering about rain and all that malarkey. Sorry, I seem to have developed a bit of a sniffle, or kept a bit of a sniffle from the last show. So a bit of a haze to this morning. I think that will just burn off as we go. I've just spotted that 737 MAX that Wayne Tennant was talking about pushing back. You can probably see it in the back of your shot as well, actually, towards the right hand of the screen. Just moving to the right of the Jet 2 tail fins. So let's open it properly. Good morning and a very warm welcome from Plain Sailing Aviation, here for our early start, early bird stream at Newcastle International Airport. We're just looking at the minute at a Chewy 737 MAX pushing back off to Palma. That's the background shot. In the foreground we have another 737, but that will be in the shape of Ryanair's Dublin flight. Sounds like that's about to start moving. I'm Mark anyway, for anyone who doesn't know who I am. We're going to be on air till 9 o'clock, and then we're going to be hot-footing it somewhere else. More on that in a bit. Let's see if Simon Kirby is close enough for the cigar. By the way, Simon, that was an inspired suggestion. Caught this particular service a couple of times now and found it to be very punctual. Good morning, Eddie. Interested to see how we do with the sun. Certainly doing plenty of glinting. What they're jetting off to. Bit of sunshine. We'll ask Carl Shield if he joins us. Okay. Let's just rest the camera there. So I was opening the show, wasn't I? So anyway, on air till 9 o'clock. Plenty on this morning. Decent array of departures in particular. More on that in a bit. We have some fantastic pictures from Prestwick and Glasgow, taken by one of our all-star mods, Ken Alloway. They are definitely worth sharing, so we'll feed that into the show when we hit one of those pause moments that you invariably get at a small regional airport. And of course, the announcement in terms of where we're heading later. 2 till around 5:30, destination unknown, as Eddie has coined it. Although you seem to know a song that involved that particular title, which he hasn't yet treated us to. One for another day. I'll reveal that one somewhere between 8 and 9. Just look for a gap in traffic to drop into. So, my quick tally up yesterday evening is I think we're good for at least 27 movements during the show. British Airways, KLM, Air France, Scotland's finest in the shape of Loganair. That British Airways pushing back as we speak, Heathrow bound flight. Ryanair, EasyJet, you've seen FedEx. I don't think we'll see the freighter going back out. I see KLM have turned over the far side as well. That's another flight I've taken recently. Excellent. And Jet2, and probably someone else I've forgotten. There was a chance of some heavy action in the shape of a 787 Dreamliner. That was running about 40 minutes late when I was having my breakfast this morning, half hour or something in that region. So I don't know, I think we'll probably miss that. If we get lucky, it's our day on that. I'm going to have to finish bang on 9, and if it turns out we're a little bit better off because there's a lack of movements, I'll finish at 10 to 9. It's all about getting to the next place. Oh dear. So we covered the chat, so let's cover the weather. Simples. Sun, sun, sun. This mist was a little bit unexpected, but not entirely when you consider Let's have a little Jaws moment. See KLM somewhere over yonder. There we go. Now this usually goes at 6:05, which pretty much puts it on par with British Airways if I remember correctly. I was hoping for a special livery KLM treat. I feel we're a little bit due now for a Star Alliance. Boeing 737. Planing. I mean, that windsock's got the day off, hasn't it? As you'll get confirmation of when I get into the weather forecast. Layla Bergman, good morning to you, all the way up there in Sweden. Hope you're doing well, Layla. Weekend is here. No Simon Kirby, other than the fact that there'll be no freight traffic, and I could have been throwing a double curveball, I suppose, but you've got the range right. You know, when we sat there on the map working where we could get to by early afternoon, Deborah Speller, good morning Deborah, how you doing? Thank you for joining us. It's just so great to get support in the way that we do. Ken, you're exactly right, mate. Beautiful morning for spotting, and I'm thinking it might be t-shirt weather at Bradford. Oh, did I say that? Oh, I've blown myself. Listen, friends in the chat, don't spoil it when I announce it later. Oh man, I can't keep a secret, can I? Consider yourself in my inner circle. This is why Eddie only lets me know stuff on a need-to-know basis. That chewy Palmer flight is about to go next. You can probably hear it inching along. Good morning folks, anyone that's just joined since I opened the show. Mindful that at this time of day people will be coming all the while, I suppose, coming and going, getting their brews on. So welcome to Newcastle International Airport. Trackside with Mark from Plain Sailing Aviation. Eddie, I'm tired. Oh, it's a lame excuse because the charge stands, doesn't it? I'm turning out to be a blurt. Ken, it's not even a go moment, it's the default. I don't usually need the alarm. I think Eddie can confirm that, but I needed it this morning, and even then I was looking at my phone, probably annoying Mrs. Plain Sailing Aviation. It must have been 20 seconds or so before I could remember how to switch the thing off, because obviously I don't use it very often. David Palfreman, a firm friend of the show, thank you so much, very kind David. Very kind indeed. Cheers, buddy. Took me out there, wasn't expecting anything at this time of day. No, Simon Kirby, this is where we get to find out whether you can keep a secret. So the long and story short is I'll still do the announcement because obviously viewership changes and you can all consider yourself on the inner circle. After I've announced it, you can mock me in the chat. That's fair game. But yeah, just keep it to yourselves. British Airways next on the block, and if I cut to the back of the line, Air France with their Embraer. So yeah, it's quite a nice little rush hour. Good morning, Bruce, and OE7HPJ Stefan. Can I call you Stefan? Robin Harrison, thank you for your discretion. So let's stay with this British Airways A320 Heathrow bound. Oh, I got a proper double nostril of Jet A1. It kind of tells me that the wind has moved slightly, even if it's not moving the SOC. On a westerly you never smell it. Simon Kirby, you're dead right, mate. I'll be giving it up straight away. There'd be no need to get the power tools out or the little watering can and flannel. What do you want to know? Of course, the only thing is, if you spill your guts too quickly, they think you are holding out. And that wind change I'm on about, I've just spotted that the SOC has started to gradually come to life. Although it's still not showing an easterly, which is I'm sure where it's supposed to be heading. Anyway, Simon, I was going to tell you last night, to be honest. It did occur to me that you come up with a very good guess, and you know. Kind of weird really, the glare I'm getting on the viewfinder. I can see more of myself in the plane. Not really what I want. Nearly enough to be able to shave, I reckon. Right, let's get our Embraer 190, which I think was a standard. Beautiful little plane. Wayne asks when I'm standing, and of course Simon is right. I am Newcastle Airport. Yeah, I'm at the 07 end of the runway, which I think is, let's get my geography correct, I'm not sure where it is. It's the oh 07 end of it. So I hope everybody is in weekend mode. It's a 170. I called that 190, and when I said it was a beautiful little plane, my brain was definitely thinking 170. Yeah, it's a gorgeous plane. Resident Rounds, good morning to you, Resident Rounds. Welcome back to Plain Sailing Aviation. A few minutes, you're joining us, that's the main thing. Please consider leaving a like though, if you like what you see. I haven't got my tripod quite planted as I usually do because I really thought they might switch the runways over. We'll complete the weather forecast next. You'll see why it's not quite so easy to anticipate, which essentially it's to do with the fact that even if the wind changes to an easterly, generally they'll not change unless the wind exceeds 5 knots. Okay, where do we get to? So weather, it says 6 degrees rising to 11 degrees. It said 3.5 on the car thermometer on the way here, but no, it feels exactly that. It's not colder than 6. Less than 5% chance of rain. I'd say there's a less than 1% chance of rain. So the wind, 2 miles an hour, possibly rising to 3 by show's end. So what's that going to be? Something like 0.16 of a knot. They don't have to do any changes if they don't want to, so if it does go west, I said south into earlier on, west northwesterly, it's expected to change to an easterly around 8 o'clock, but I think that shift has probably started, just having started to pick up the smell of aviation. So we are entirely set fair. So let's just have a quick look, see what is happening. As you can see on the apron, plenty of holiday charter traffic. I'm just going to bring us around a little bit. What we've got in there, foreground, Ryanair. A bit further round, nestled here, which I think must be gate 1, check 2. So this looks like where most of the action is likely to come from, and hopefully nobody is transponding at the minute, which time on a tradition. We might do the photos actually, because I've since Ken sent me them, I've had a few dibs in actually. Crackers. I'm just curious as well with that Dreamliner. So our first arrival, I think, is Ryanair Hungry Dance at around 7:45. Yeah, that'll be right. Just checking. Let's have a look what our Dreamliner's doing. Yeah, we're not going to make that. 9:30. That's a bit of a shame. Can't win it all. It looks like Jet 2 departing to Mahon in Menorca, isn't it? Yeah, it's a bit of a lucky dip at the minute because no one's transponding. I think if I was going to put some money on it, let's have a look, see. I can't tell, I'm squinting. Sure, that is a tug in the foreground. Doors are closed, or they're not withdrawn. Let's loiter there for the minute. So that should be going at 6:25, followed by Ryanair's flight to Paphos at 6:40, which by the process of deduction would have to be this one. Look at this. Doris, they're all coming your way, mate. Looking to be entertained and have a mint time. We've also got Jet 2 off to Rus at 6:40, Corfu 6:45, Faro at 6:45, and then Chewy piling with Verona at 6:55 and Alicante at 07:05. So there is a rich body of action, reassuringly. So let's have a... Wayne, my car, mate, is the long story short. I'm not sure how easy it would be, unless you're on the metro line. If you've got the ability to connect to the metro line, there is a station at Callerton Parkway just before the airport, and the airport itself. So, choice really. If you're coming by motor, there's a couple of options really. You can park at the metro. There's a pub on the corner, Callerton Parkway, although be cautious with the parking there. Always make sure I buy a Coke if I'm using that one. Roads around the airport, there are a few lanes where you can park up. I've done that today because I need to get away quickly, but you kind of, I don't know, I've had the police ask me to move the car before, even though there's no red or yellow lines. Oh dear. Right. I'm sorry, Ken, I've missed your comment about the 7.4, the Houston bound Lufty. I didn't hear it, to be fair, although no, I'm monitoring my own sound. I'm just not quite as tuned in to the ambient sound. But keep me posted if anything interesting comes over. It's this time of day is quite good for it if it overflies the position, because the sun, as you'll have seen, is all the way down at the far end, runway 25. Simon Kirby, yes, I understand we had a 330 through. I did muse on popping down myself, but the trouble with this live stream caper, on the days you're not streaming or doing stuff, you kind of promise to do other things. And as Eddie says, it's a fairly regular thing in terms of different military aircraft coming through, either stopping or doing some touch and goes. So yeah, it's quite a good spot. That sounds a lot like a plane. Sorry if I missed that call in the chat. That must be a late runner. That's a bonus. That'll be 28 movements expected in the show. Although, technically speaking, I've got to price out the Dreamliner that we're not getting. Anyway, the main thing is we got it. With it being virtually a windless morning, acoustics are easy. Stefan, thank you very much for joining the show, mate. So, about to start work. Well, listen, mate, I hope the day goes quick. Don't know if you're working for yourself or somebody else, but either which way, you know, the day will pass. And hopefully you get some downtime later. We are on air again at 2 o'clock from no tittering in the chat, destination unknown. So we'll be back from a different location 2 till 5:30, possibly 6, just depending on how it plays out. Best laid plans of men and mice. Now W, I think I've seen somebody say hello to you, so I'm certain you must be in the chat. Nell, how you doing? Have you got that coffee? Or are you doubling down? Coffee and some of those pastries that you're so good at, your croissants. Can't whack an easy start into a Saturday, can you? And if you have to work like Stefan does, start the day at least in the right way. I mean, obviously I think most of you know I'm retired these days, but before I was, if there was any streaming action I could catch, which was generally Sid Squad if I remember correctly, or J Sky, I'd have that on while I've got a pot of tea on the go. Ah yes, I've just spotted you now. Excellent. So, 2 mods in the house. Ken Alloway, Nell W. And Ken, yeah, I've just got to your message. At least I avoided the telescope. You did all you could to save me from myself. I have to take my hat off to you. Nell, it's a gorgeous morning. It really is. I mean, I think all of us who watch a lot of planes know that when you get into the heat of summer, it can get a little trickier. Not just for hazing, but electronic equipment sometimes doesn't like being baked either. But yeah, this is grand. And as the day goes on, it's meant to warm up more. Remco, good morning to you in the Netherlands. Which part of the Netherlands? And Nell's right. If you do like what you see, please do hit that like button. And if you're not yet subscribed, we'd love to have you with us. We really would. I mean, neither cost you anything, and we're a small channel, and any help you can give us in that way goes a long, long way. I mean, the main thing is, if you can hear this message, you're watching the show, so that's supporting us in your own way. But likes and subscriptions, the way people talk about the YouTube algorithm and its black box, well, it just helps tilt the odds a little bit our way. I mean, we're small fry, let's not kid ourselves, but anything you can do goes a long way. And of course, if anybody is inclined to exploring memberships, which I never do a hard sell on, but if you look below the chat window, you'll see a little $sign. If you click on that, it doesn't obligate you, so don't worry about that. It's not like you've signed up, but it will give you more details. We've got 2 levels, Aviator class and Executive Lounge, and you make your own mind up. Right, so we'll stay with this Chewy. You can see something else over the far side. I'm sure it's been called in the chat. Louise Rooney, I've just spotted your name in the chat. So how you doing, Louise? Ah, so actually it's the Jet 2 Mahon plane. Be harsh, Ken, to give me a telescope for this. Not now, it's obviously it is what it is. Not been to Menorca for years. Eddie will have no doubt some good memories of childhood holidays there. I think we're at 4 years on the spin. You know what it is when you've got a young child and you find somewhere that really works for you. And as a hassled parent, you just want some quality downtime. Well, we found that in Menorca. I wonder where that incoming plane from Palmer is parking up. Whether it'll take this jet 2 spot or going to the back. Going to the back, I think. Good morning, Michelle. How you doing, Michelle Johnson? Come on down. Michelle, I thought of you earlier on. We had a FedEx in just slightly before the show opened, so it streamed, so you'll be able to catch it up later. We don't get a lot of freight traffic, because you know. Oh, Adele, Louise Rooney. Sorry, Adele. I just saw at the corner of my eye. Anyway, welcome to Plain Sailing Aviation. I'm Mark. So anybody else who's wondering who's this chap who's babbling on, that's Mark from Plain Sailing Aviation here at Newcastle, and we will be live on air till 9 o'clock. So excellent. Looking some great support in the chat. So Adele, sorry I've transposed you again. So you were due to fly to Malaga on Monday morning from Newcastle. First time flyer, cannot wait. Tell you what, it's an ace feeling, that, Adele. It really is. I hope you have an absolutely cracking time. Who are you flying with? Gavin Davison, good morning to you. Thank you, Gavin. It's kind of home base for us anyway, is Newcastle, but conditions are just so favourable. There's quite a bit of decent early bird traffic. Bearing in mind this isn't a honeypot airport like, say, Heathrow or Manchester. So you do get gaps in traffic, but the setting's lovely. As you can tell, the local birds aren't one bit fussed by the noise of jet engines, are they? Don't chase that. Looks like the mist is starting to burn off. What do we see over here? Ah, Nell W. Cake with red fruit filling this weekend. It sounds divine. I still think back to, I think that might have been a Friday stream, like an afternoon one, where you were saying you've got some pastries in the oven. Although I also think about another stream where you had, I think it was a chocolate fudge cake or similar on the go. Point being, as much as I enjoy the smell of Jet A1 down at the airside, got a vivid imagination when it comes to nice things cooking in the oven. Ah dear, well done you. Cyril Denham, welcome back my friend. I hope you're keeping well. I don't know what the consensus is in the chat on flight prices. Perhaps somebody's answered that point. I think there is value to be had out there, but it's quite, I don't know. To me it feels dearer than it does cheap. I think the age of cheap travel to places you want to go when you want to go is probably over. If you're prepared to go where the capacity is free, I don't know, I think there's still some good prices. I mean, Eddie and I went to Dublin recently, as regulars on the show will know. Let's just go to the Paphos Ryanair, and we flew with Ryanair, and to be honest with you, it was not very expensive at all. I think, what did we pay for that one? I'm going to say 60 quid return each, so 30 quid each leg. And you know how it is sometimes it's cheaper to get there and dearer to get back. The only problem is if you leave it too close to your departure date, a bit like booking hotels, they kind of wham the prices up. Adele's going with Jet 2. Well, all I hear is good about Jet 2, Adele. I think the last Which consumer survey of UK airlines gave Jet 2 top banana, top marks. So I'm as confident as you can ever be from the sidelines that you're going to have a good time. Good stuff. Michelle, the planes are definitely awake. When I got here and set up, it's a lovely feeling, a bit like when I was down here on Thursday doing an early morning setup test. Similar scene really. Looked around the terminal, tail fins everywhere, which is a lovely sight at a small regional airport. I've just spotted Eddie's comment about Menorca, so you have some good memories of that one. Nice one. Simon Kirby, are you trying to suggest that we should carry some kind of advert on the screen or disclaimer? Audrey McDonald, how you doing? Oh dear. Oh dear, what's Audrey say here? Eyes open, nobody home. Think the same was for you earlier. Yeah, it was. I didn't see a soul on the way down here. Didn't see a soul. I've seen your message, Audrey. I'll look up for the Foxy updates. Foxy the Terror. Anyway, hope you're keeping well, Audrey. Now, I've just noticed your comment about the sunlight. It is just gorgeous. Trouble is, summer goes so quickly, doesn't it? And I'm going to throw it out there as a point, perhaps contentious if you like, but I think further north you go, it seems to disappear more quickly. So this Paphos plane definitely does want to go, just starting to move. Yeah, Michelle, get that coffee. Is that coffee or tea? Yeah, you see, that's my preference, tea. I think if I'm on coffee, it's because tea's not available, or I need the caffeine hit urgently, like first aid. Mark first aid. But usually, I like to sit there with my pot of tea and gradually wake up. Well, this is very leisurely taxiing, isn't it? I kind of figure that KLM would already be at the start line. Wayne Tennant's got his in-flight meal booked for Tenerife. Chicken dinner, there and back, seats 27A. Just remind me, Wayne, if when are you going? I think you might have said that on the previous previous stream. Thing is, Tenerife, it's a bit far to go, isn't it, without something solid. So I would have gone that route as well. Before anyone says it, I think most people would say that if I was flying to Heathrow, I'd probably want something to eat. Isn't it funny? The more careful you're supposed to be with your diet, the harder it is. Nell, yes, the DHL, I've seen you chatting with Simon. That came in a small number of minutes before the show started, so I sparked it up. So if you watch the show from the beginning later, you'll catch that. Jet 2 737 bound for Corfu, pushing back. So it looks like we've got continuity. That's always reassuring. Jet 2 on Tuesday. Okay, Jet 2 are doing well, aren't they? Simon Kirby, we're not sponsored by Jet 2 either. Oh dear, if only. Whether Adele and Wayne are, he says playfully. Yeah, Michelle, teas, coffees, choc ices. Do you know, I've not had a choc ice for years. What's Eddie up to here? Snacks of choice. I'll tell you this is correct, folks. Pringles, Pepsi, bag of Maltesers. Yeah, that's about the shape of it. And that doesn't matter what time of day it is. So you could be eating those Pringles at 7:30 in the morning. Feel free to defend yourself. Simon. I still think, Simon, you were trying to get Eddie to do a Manuel impersonation on Thursday's show. I think he was tempted at one point. Right, blue sky in Belgium. That's reassuring because I think we are we're transitioning to an easterly, so we should get a lot of what you've got now. Fun things to do with tech, Sparky. Hello to you. Love the handle. I think we may have met before in the chat, so hope things are good with you. Fun things to do with tech. As we await this, it's just starting to ramp up. Paphos bound, Ryanair 737. So, good morning to anybody that's just joined the show. Welcome to Plain Sailing Aviation. Getting feedback in my headset. Live stream from Newcastle. Hope you're all doing well this very sunny Saturday morning. So, thank you for joining us. I'm Mark, your host. We're going to be on air till 9 o'clock, and then I'm going to pack it all up and head off to our second stream of the day, destination unknown, which I'll be officially disclosing somewhere between 8 and 9. And as always, quick nudge on likes. If you like what you see, please do give us the like. And even better, if you're not yet subscribed, we'd love to have you with us. Neither cost you anything. And as we're such a small channel, these things really help very proportionately. So, Paphos, here we come. No, that's a small tube, Simon. Eddie's not paying large tube prices. Unless it's my round. Frank Van Dorsen. Good morning, Frank. Welcome to Plain Sailing. Michelle Johnson, you can watch this just as well from bed. Jet 2's Corfu bound 737 is moving and I can see a tail fin over yonder, and that will be a Jet 2 departure to Roos. So, looks like we've got 3 on the spin, folks. So we've got destination unknown being revealed, and we've also got some ace pictures taken by Ken Alloway, who you'll see in the chat as one of our fabulous moderators. Some great pics there. We will show those later when we just get a gap in traffic. Happily we're not in that moment. We've got that as jam tomorrow. Cyril, you have to let us know the date on that, and notwithstanding the fact that things keep bobbing about with Emirates, it's always nice if we know there's someone we know on the flights. We'll try and catch it if we can. No promises, as you'd expect, but yeah, do let me know. I'll stick you on the calendar. Cyril's off to Bangkok. You must get some air miles galore, Cyril. Simon Kirby, not sponsored by KLM Embraers. Don't know what you mean, mate. RCC, good morning to you, RCC. Hope things are good. Now you could say it's an ungodly hour, but remember, you know, like they say it's kind of 0 o'clock anywhere in the world. It's kind of the same with planes. It's such a nice morning. I don't know what it's like where folks live, but where we are, the birds are cheeping away from 3 o'clock. Although that wasn't enough for them to wake me up this morning. It's pretty unusual. Saying earlier, for once the alarm on my phone saved my bacon. And even then I was so gormy I really didn't understand how to switch it off. Fun things to do with tech. Ham and cheese croissants, bacon and cheese croissants in the morning, homemade, yeah. Oh, you a chef, them things? Tell you what, they sound divine. As does it. So they're pushing him out the door. Let's quickly jump onto the Corfu flight. We've got things running pretty slickly here at Newcastle. No, Simon, I'm not sponsored by Newcastle. Sadly, I'm not sponsored by anybody. Probably couldn't even get my mum and dad to sponsor me. That's not strictly true, is it? I'm sponsored by David Palfreyman this morning. And actually, we have an anonymous donor as well who's very kindly PayPal'd us for today's action. So, yeah, mum and dad might not be sponsoring me, but I'm sponsored. Or we're sponsored. Political bias, just spotted your entry into the chat. How you doing, buddy? Cyril, what kind of temperatures are you going to be expecting? Something pretty hot and temperate, I think. Simon Kirby, don't join me in the lounge of leakers. Leakers. Oh man. Now we like to do a little bit of Star Trek vibe, although Eddie and I are both original series, for those who are Star Trek orientated. Probably because that's what I grew up with and brainwashed Eddie with when he was a young. Go. Crikey, is that pretty much the first hour? I don't know if folks have had a chance to look at the community post I put out yesterday evening. Eddie's Spider. I mean, initially he sent me a picture and I thought he'd just taken a picture of his back garden, like, you know, like a piece of turf. It's only when I've zoomed it up and zoomed it up and zoomed it up that I've found some kind of life form. Staying a bit Star Trekky there, life form. Jack 2 to loose. Oh, it's nice at Alloway as well, Ken. Nice one. It looks like the prospects are pretty settled left, right and centre then. I'll take a bit of that. Especially as I didn't get round to mowing the lawn yesterday, like I thought I was gonna. LW. Eddie will be back. We've still got a bit of work to do on syncing the second mic, but the actual audio of it I thought was pretty good. Just got a couple of bits to tweak up. The encoder's got its own audio mixer in it, but its full range of delay is just a tiny bit short of what we need, so we'll just have to look at a workaround on that. But yeah, expect Eddie back in the house. I was hoping he was going to be joining me today. I mean, on a joke, you know, all joking aside, it's lovely to have that kind of father and son moment down at the airport. That's how we started out, isn't it, Eddie? Michelle's in the armchair drinking tea. Yeah, well, that's, you're not going to spill it, are you? Definitely. Alright, so Eddie, are you coming later? You'd have to be dead on the money. RCC, that is very, very kind of you, RCC. Fantastic support, my friend. Thank you so much. It's the difference, because everything we put straight back into the channel. Bislandia, just spotted you there. How you doing? So the plane we're looking at, Eddie, 4.8 years old. Gizbo. Tim Trainer, hello my friend. I know you were helping us with Flight Radar, weren't you, on the Dusseldorf stream? Tim, how are you doing? That seems a while ago now, doesn't it? I think Simon Kirby is going to be insisting that we have some kind of behind the scenes video feed on Eddie, so that we can actually verify the level of alertness that he's actually deploying. Istandia, I am in great order, really excited about the day ahead. I think at EDI you're going to be getting what we've got. I bet it'll be absolutely beautiful. As much as I love Newcastle, home airport and all the rest of it, I just love filming Edinburgh, Kirkliston side. bet you get some fantastic contrails at this time of day. The only downside with the early start is we'll not have any tiddlers on show, will we? Courtesy of the flying school or private ownership. So, what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can quickly see around 5 tail fins, 6. Although we can discount the DHL one which arrived from Cologne earlier, which now seems to be firmly established as a regular here. Oh dear. Alright, I didn't know Tim is a fellow Midlander. Which part of the Midlands do you hail from, Tim? I realise that, Simon. Although it'd be a very niche channel, wouldn't it? You know, Tiddler Watch, Small Planes TV, something like that. But I reckon when you are at a regional, that kind of mix of small stuff, biz jets, helicopters, just adds to the mix. I mean, as you know, I'm still struggling to screw my head back on after the excitement of Aberdeen, and we will be going back to Aberdeen at some stage. To say this month now, can't I? We're in June. So I will put out our next newsletter in the next couple of days, airside, which this will be going to members, obviously, confirming what we are planning to be up to. Pretty excited about going back to Edinburgh and Aberdeen. It always makes sense to break the journey. Yeah, I wouldn't know, you know. I think they just break it up nicely. I think that this isn't a criticism, because I thought it was quite niche actually. I can't remember who the streamer was. Somebody was streaming from, I'm going to say Gloucester Airport. Someone would say there isn't any airfield at Gloucester, but I'm sure it was so. There wasn't a huge amount of movement, but to be honest, I got 10 minutes to see what was out there, and that just caught my eye. Just looking at Michelle's comment with Mac Aviation's Aberdeen stream. Who's his guest, Derek, then? Alan T, good morning in sunny Colville. It looks like a full house on the Sunshine. I'm going to feel really guilty for anyone that joins the chat saying it's cats and dogs. I think, Nell, I did a quick scooch through count on the choppers. I was somewhere between 30 and 35, if I remember correctly. They were coming from all angles as well. I mean, I was saying to Eddie afterwards that it's one of those places where you think you're going to be largely in control of the action and where you point the camera, but there was just stuff left, right and centre. It was a proper sugar rush. So let's have a look, see what's happening next on the deck. So in terms of developments here as well, we've got Aegean added to the roster of airlines using Newcastle. They start operating an Athens route from the 14th of June. I need to check that one out time-wise, because naturally we want to cover it, but I've got a feeling it's one of those late o'clock type slots. But that seems counterintuitive for a route to a major capital city. So I don't know. So Jet 2 are pinging away, as Eddie has called in the chat. Yep, on flight radar. I think they'll be turning anywhere, any minute. Just looking at Eddie's comment, Alan T is much closer to our parish, having previously resided in Shepshed, just the other side of the M1 from Loughborough. Mark Webster. Oh, Webbo, you like even called Webbo, don't you, mate? Sorry, I tend to read first and then the brain kicks in. How you doing, buddy? Oh, Webbo, you're Shepshed. As you've just heard, that's formerly myself and Eddie. In a small world. Clearly the epicentre of plane spotting enthusiasts. Simon Kirby. It is the centre of the East Midlands. Derek is a local guy, but he's got a lovely Scottish accent. Ken's going to say all Scottish accents are lovely. I sense it in my water. I think the funny thing for me was, when I did the Aberdeen stream, there was a guy standing, I think some of you may remember this from the stream, not far behind me, and he looked familiar. You know when someone looks familiar, but they're in a place you wouldn't expect to find them. So you don't just say hello to anyone who looks vaguely familiar, especially not someone you don't know well. Turns out it's somebody I've stood with quite a few times down at Edinburgh, a chap called Dane. So Dane, I don't know if you're in the chat or even in the show, but good morning if you're listening. Yep, you can, Eddie or Ken, Nell, can you release Webbo's chat? YouTube think that the butthole is that's the word I'm after. Incorrect language. But we're talking about Butthole Lane, are we not, Webbo? I've been gone for 10 years, but is it Butthole Lane? Eddie's probably rolling around on the carpet now. I've probably misremembered that one. But yeah, please release that. Isn't the biscuit factory more Ashby way, or used to be? United Biscuits as used to be? Oh, hang on, what's happening here? Can I see a Chewy pushing back? There we go, we've got some action, folks. Anyway, between Webbo and Eddie, it is Butthole Lane, is it not? You sometimes wonder, don't you, when some of the roads and stuff, you think, why do they call it that? Well, I don't want that line of logic completing in this context, but you get the general idea. I mean, they often name streets and stuff, don't they, after local dignitaries and stuff. Just realised I better drink a bit of water. It's going to be a slightly longer day today, so I better stay hydrated. Should have bought a flask really, shouldn't I? Yep, Shepshed Dynamo. I think I've watched them a few times years gone by. I bet you've got some fond recollections, have you not, Eddie? Shepshed Dynamo. But Ken, it is a bit of a weird name, but it is exactly that. Yeah, with the proper street sign and everything. No wonder YouTube didn't like it. So Webbo, do you get down East Midlands a fair bit? I think Eddie and I have said in previous streams we spent a lot of hours back in the day in that part of the world. So this plane is bound for Alicante. You see, Eddie would have said that with way more flourish. Yeah, Webbo, I reckon that is probably about the best spot. If I remember correctly, the only problem there is if you were filming, you'd be filming through the fence, unless you did what Big Jerry did a few times back, where he was obviously filming off his van, a little bit more elevation. But that, yeah, it's on top of that lane, isn't it? That goes pretty much straight up to the fence. Let's see if we can get a bit closer without hazing up, or hazing too much. Right, we'll have a quick change round on the power. Gonna, obviously, with having our power banks confiscated at Dusseldorf, I'm just running off the one, got a replacement, which probably just about does what we need, because we've changed a lot of things in our setup since we had to, so had a little bit of redundant capacity. Now we're just running off the one, everything's finely tuned. Good stuff, we are charging away. So thanks Eddie. The 737 you are looking at, G-Tums. 5.3 years old. Aircraft name Rhodes W. Well, I never. But there's the thing, what's the W? I can't believe it. I picked up, saw Simon's comment about sugary snacks, and then it put me in mind of the fact I've got a snack. Not very sugary, but calorific. That's the sound of me rustling about, trying to detect where I put my sewing bar. And found it. So we're rolling forward. See something else has turned over the far side, which is that, I'm assuming it's Faro Jet 2. just seen in the chat, has Michelle been piling into the telescope game? My personal favourites from Thursday's show was Eddie tapping me on to film basically a train that we couldn't see. The initial thought was it was an aircraft on finals, and it weren't, it was a metro train. And I said at the time, worse still, because of the hedge you can't even see the train. Of course, we all know I've got more than my share of telescopes, so probably less said the better. I'm glad we kept reverse ops. This gives you a way better close-up. Something spider-esque, fairly large. I've just blown off my wrist. I don't think I'll be faring very well in Thailand. So denim. Here's our, let's say this one was, let's say this is Alicante. NZ! A, good morning NZ. B, thank you so much for supporting plain sailing aviation. Folks know I get overexcited when people are kind to us. Thank you for joining. Our latest member joining our aviator class, welcome aboard. Webbo, been a pleasure mate, look forward to catching you another time. Take care buddy. Michelle, I ought to count up the amount of telescopes I've been awarded, you know, career achievements. I think Ken and Alibi have probably got access to the data on that. NZ, where are you joining us from? Is that New Zealand NZ, or is NZ a different abbreviation? Anyway, it's fantastic to have you with us. It's moments like this when planes are holding, where you think, and up we're going. So this is the TUI departure to Verona. which will be followed by the Jet 2 Malaga flight, possibly then by the Faro plane, although it looks like Malaga's pushing back to make way for the Faro departure. I'm not quite sure how they stack up chronologically. Let's stay with Verona for the minute. New Zealand. NZ's from New Zealand. Which part of New Zealand, NZ? We have a few viewers from New Zealand. I love it when we got people joining us from the other side of the world. It's a place I'd love to go. So good morning to anyone that's just joined us. We're listening to Mark from Plain Sailing Aviation. We're at Newcastle International Airport. Thank you for joining us. On air till 9 o'clock. Nice easy start to Saturday. If you look at that Chile departure, 737 to Verona. Crikey, Jet 2 are not hanging around. This looks like the Faro bound one, I think, unless I've lost my place. Malaga to follow, which you can just see towards the left of the shot. There probably is a YT analysis card, isn't there? Faux pas by the host. You see, I've now been tormented by Ken and Eddie, who seem to be wanting to be squaring me. DB Bassman. Good morning to you, DB. How goes it? Never been to Verona myself, but people I know that have been all speak favourably of it. I'd snap your hand off for that, no question. NZ's from the North Island. Working my way a little bit further back. Ooh, 69 likes already. If we can get ourselves to 100, that would be fantastic. Make an old guy very happy. For the avoidance of doubt, that old guy being me. This sounds bonkers, but I'm beginning to start to think I ought to put some sun cream on. I've brought it with me. I thought I'm not slathering that on prematurely. You don't really expect to need sun cream before 10 o'clock, but the sun is very strong. So, Jet 2 to Malaga. Is next out the door, and there she blows. DB's gone for an emergency infusion of coffee. I was saying earlier, tea is my beverage of choice, no question. But if I need rapid caffeination, coffee's the one, isn't it? If you need to get a bit more sense out of me than usual and fairly quickly, probably coffee or an emergency Mars bar, which I'm not supposed to eat. Anyway, Malaga, that's where this one's going. Now says 77 likes, 23 more for the ton. Hitting the 100 before your next coffee. Well, listen folks, let's get to the 100. Let's keep Nell caffeinated. Moderators have a hard gig, so basic health and safety says they've got to stay caffeinated. See a Jet 2, oh, not this Jet 2 before you laugh at me. There's a Jet 2 on the far side, who's just turned. A quick look on flight radar, showing that most favoured of destinations, NA when I last looked. Definitely keeping the mist at the far end. So folks, we are operating today runway 07. Plane's taking off towards the far end, runway 25. The deck here 2,334 metres, not that I've measured it myself. So let's just take us to that. So I think that's our, well, it was an NA plane. I'm sure it'll show a destination shortly. Just looking at DB Bassman being stuck on a BA shuttle at Heathrow, the bridge wouldn't retract. That's an hour to fix. I suppose the trouble is, by the time you know you've got a problem that you can't fix intuitively, it takes a bit of time for the technical guys to get there. So was that outward or return? It's a real pig, isn't it, if you are needing to be somewhere by a specific time. Right, that isn't moving anywhere immediately. Have a quick peek and see where our first arrival is, which I think, oh, it's not our first arrival, is it? Because we picked up a Jet 2 and of course the FedEx. But I'm sure we've got an EasyJet in around 20 to 7 or thereabouts. I'd like to say Belfast. No, that's 20 past 8. Oh, there we go. Ryanair look like our next incomer. 7:34 according to this, so made around 11 minutes during at 7:45 in from Gdansk. I'll shrink my map down, haven't I? Our NA Jet 2, the one that you're looking at, is in fact Alicante. Plenty of folks there for their holes. Where's our Ryanair? I found it. So it's passing to the north of us, currently kind of northwestish. So let's say 4 minutes, good flight radar. That'd be about 6 or 7. Michelle, you must be the only person with a grade A, I reckon. Is that with the prospect of the greyness burning off and unremitting sunshine for the rest of the day? Nell's got sunshine in Belgium. Just looking at Nell's comment about circling for longer than the actual flight time on a departure to London. I think that's the thing, isn't it, with London air traffic control. Here's our Alicante 737 nipping out. So I better keep a bit of a watch. I'm assuming they've been told to get a wriggle on if they don't want to give way to the incoming Ryanair. Certainly an impressive start. Just looking at DB's comment, in fact, sorry, I'm just taking the camera off the plane. Yeah, I used to find, not with aviation travel so much, used to be on the trains quite a bit with work, and obviously they never run on time. Sometimes you just got to make the best of the situation, haven't you? Nice beer doesn't go far wrong, does it? Well, I can't believe it, folks. We're halfway through the show. Just rattling past. Yeah, LW. Tenerife will go down well with Mark, definitely. Mind you, so with Alicante, looking at this plane. Tail fin behind the wall. Which wall am I looking at, Michelle? Do you mean the terminal itself? I can see a single tail fin. I think that might be Air France have gone, KLM have gone. I'm inclined to say it's a 737. So if you've just joined us, welcome to Newcastle, folks. You are looking at a Jet 2 737 bound for Alicante. Just great to be right at the back of these things when they take off, isn't it? The only other difference I've noted from Thursday is Thursday Eddie and I were definitely getting some jet wash, whereas today I'm getting nothing, although it was windier on Thursday, so I suppose there's more of a multiplier. Well, somebody else has pushed back and turned over the far side, thinking another jet too. Yeah, classic tailpin this time. There you go. So I think we'd better be watching for this Ryanair that ought to be on finals, otherwise I'm in for a solid telescope pounding off the moderator team and Eddie. You can hear it. That's the beauty of a windless day. I tell you what, let's get ready. Be rude to be not in position. So, no, you've not joined Skywatch by accident. If memory serves, this is the 737 Ryanair from Gdansk. Nice. Smoke. I'll get the, I can live without the rubber smell, to be honest. So that'll be our third arrival on the show. Early starts here generally weighted towards departures, which is great on reverse ops for the reasons we were talking about a few minutes ago. Off into the haze a little bit. Jet 2 hasn't moved anywhere yet, so I'll move to that in a jiff. That will be off to Ibiza. Simon Kirby, I've heard it said that Alicante is good. As you know, Eddie's our man at the Spanish tourist board, so I'll let Eddie advise on future streaming activity from there. Probably want to avoid in the heat of the summer, I'm thinking, because the kit, and I'm generalising here, generally don't want to be out in baking sun. I think I've said on previous streams, it always sticks in my head where Marwan from Brussels to the skies was streaming from Madrid, and the equipment was just too hot for him to touch at one point. I think he had to close the stream down. A bit murky at the back end of the track. Yeah, that all matters Spanish, I defer to Eddie. I think my problem would be going somewhere like Alicante or Tenerife or so forth. I kind of forget that I was there to do the stream. And those who know me well through the show will know that's a real possibility. DB Bassman, I'm going to say hand on heart inadvertently earlier, I'm going to do it just after 8. So hold tight, my friend. I had a loose lip moment earlier on. Just looking at Nell's comment about outer space, thinking about, was it a couple of years ago? I lose track of these things. Let's go to the Alicante plane, it'll be a cleaner shot. Ibiza, not Alicante. When William Shatner of Star Trek fame went up into space with, can't remember who took him up there, was it Elon Musk? Or... Anyway, by the by, some of the pictures from that just look fabulous. But no, we'll not be streaming from anywhere quite so exciting. Exciting for us, earthbound, us earth dwellers, not intergalactics. GB, we've done Dublin a couple of times and had tricky times there. It's a fantastic location, although the traffic noise off the mound is pretty formidable. Our problems were all to do with signal resilience. The first time we went, just the train in the background, folks, we weren't using a bonded signal. Second time we were, but we still experienced similar problems. So I'm not saying we'll not go back, and I think we've got the solution mentally to that problem, but I don't know. No plans for an imminent return, but it is brilliant for plane spotting. Off to Ibiza, which is where Eddie is bound for at some point in the summer. I think I'm right, aren't I, Eddie? You've got a residency at Space. Can't quite tell on my viewfinder, but that kind of looked like a bit of wing fluff coming off there. Anyway, let's track back with Ryanair's 737, recently landed from Gdansk. Simon Kirby, it's a good question. I looked him up the other day. I don't think he streamed for about 3 months or so. Hope he's okay. I don't think there's a community post or anything that kind of says how things are. So I suppose once you've gone past the hope he's keeping well phase, there's also this kind of game is pretty costly, and what you make off YouTube, because if I remember correctly, he's not a particularly big channel. He's not that much relative to outlay. So whether he's taking a breather, no, anyone knows where Marwan is, feel free to post in the chat. I used to enjoy his streams. Andy P, good morning to Andy P. How goes it? Ken Alloway, cut me some slack. It is exactly that. It's exactly that, isn't it? Using a Dad's Army scene to hammer Mark for being a blurt. Oh, dearie me. Wayne's exercised the dog. Excellent. Get that kettle on then, Wayne. In fact, it's just conflicted. Stay here. Or there we go. There. Looks like the last of the passengers weaving their way in. Eddie, who are you flying with, mate? Jet2 seems to be the all-winning airline this morning in terms of where viewers are, how viewers are getting from A to B. Paul Rusher, hey up, Paul. Not seen you for a bit. Hope you're keeping well. Funny what you say about the weather, Andy P. When we were down here on Thursday, it was just like being in winter. It was horrible. Yet the days up to that were quite pleasant. Been on the allotment, done a bit in the garden. And today, well, this is the only flaw with my next part of the, the second part of the show, if you will, Destination Unknown. You just don't know how the roads are going to behave, do you? Everyone thinks, oh, the weather's nice, let's go and do something nice. Andy P, what you didn't get from the second one was the sheer look of relief on my face that, we completed the mission. I think Eddie was probably going to square up to give me a bunch of 5s. I certainly wasn't going to be allowed to go home. But to be fair, and Eddie can confirm or deny, but it was quite a good dad and lad enterprise. It was essentially a triple wardrobe, and very much a two-man gig. Simon Kirby, Eddie will probably treat himself to a private charter when I go to the plane spotting location in the sky. He'd say that's what Dad always would have wanted. If you can't go yourself, somebody close and near to you, that's the next best thing. And I'd love a bit of bizjet travel. Crikey, that's a long handle. Prince Douglas and Magical Merlin's Adventures. First time for the channel. Welcome, Prince Douglas. I'm Mark, your host. Great to have you with us. Just subscribe, fantastic. Sitting at home with Newcastle open. Listen, fantastic to have you with you. I get my words tangled. I get excited with nice words. So thank you so much for your kind support. Now, what does that noise mean? I've just let it chime up in my headset. It usually means there's something I should be fretting about. And if it is, I don't know what it is. So we've got a Tomo's, just starting to stream off, I've noticed there, but let's just go somewhere else. Let's see the ops team beavering away with this departing Chewy. Everybody's going to Ibiza. And Eddie. Yeah, Andy P. There are other configurations available. Oh dear. I'll be honest with you, it's been a while since I've put anything up from a flat pack. I think the last thing was an IKEA Calyx, which are, anyone that's got one, are pretty straightforward. So I've not really been put to the test for quite some time. Ah, you see, LW, they've got that extra power, haven't they? That, yeah. Well, it's good with the walkie-talkie. Open the doors. Yeah, Andy P, 7 degrees where you are. What did I say when I opened the show with our notes? Have a quick look. 6 degrees here. Officially when I started up, but it said 3.5 degrees on the car thermometer on the way here. Probably a little bit depressed by the mistiness, which obviously doesn't help, but that's largely dissipated. Less than 5% chance of rain. I'll stick my neck out and say absolutely no chance of rain. That's where we are at the minute. Virtually windless, as you'll notice from the sock. That's picked up a little bit. 2-3 mile an hour, sort of 1.6 knots, something in that region. Gusts not much stronger, so the wind's not a factor. And because it's less than 5 knots, they've got flexibility as to which end of the runway they want to use. So luckily for us, we are getting 07 departures. Plane's taking off. Anyone that's only just joined us, down the track towards the runway 25 end, and beyond those trees, that would be the North Sea eventually. The iconic tower, sponsored by Emirates. Always really amuses me now that the Saudis have got ownership of Newcastle, and often speculation as to whether Saudi will ever introduce a route, a scheduled route here. Who knows? Anyway, let's track this Ibiza Express. Ken, I want to sing that song, but I'm not gonna. It is catchy. You know, like certain adverts stick in your head, what they call it, earworms, where it's a very catchy tune. I have had that bumping around. Ken knows me too well. He knows if he gets the right bit of bait on the hook, anything can happen. Anyway, I suppose I better give it the old plug. So folks, if you are enjoying what you see, enjoying the show, and you've not yet had the opportunity to hit the like button, I'm grateful if you could give it consideration. Of course, if you're not enjoying it, wouldn't expect you to hit it. Helps us a lot with YouTube, and it's the same with subscription, neither cost you anything. And if anybody has interest in a more elevated form of support, the little dollar sign below the chat window, if you click on it, it tells you without obligation. That's the important point about our membership offers. Just starting to thin out a little bit on the apron. Like I say, when I got here this morning, the bases really were loaded. I can hear something else moving, just can't see it. Anyway, let's not chase that. Actually, it's about to move, so with that one. Thanks, Andy P. I'm certainly beaming at this end. Simon Kirby. I hadn't considered I'd got any. I'm going to start sniggering again. Venga boys. Oh, I don't know. Layla, Mrs. Plain Sailing Aviation, loves Calix. I think we must have about 3 or 4 around the place. Oh, hang on a minute. It's Scotland's finest. Now, I'm not entirely sure where this is going. I'm going to intuit Southampton, but I'm pretty sure that is the first Loganair flight of the day. Bergen, not even close. Definitely no cigar for Mark on that one. Trying to wing it and coming up well short. That Michelle's got everything under control down in Essex. I think the branding is still on the tower, Eddie. We'll have a look in a minute. I'm just wondering why this plane's holding. Can't see. Excuse me for blowing my heater. Oh, still cloudy and cool in Edinburgh. DB, that does surprise me. Running 06, so okay, it's a change of pace. I definitely prefer the Kirkliston side. It's just so darn scenic. Either which way, I hope it brightens up for you. Oh dear me, and the Washington arrival is a 76400. Oh, we caught one of those, didn't we? Those 2 days we went Edinburgh, Aberdeen and back to Edinburgh. I think day 2 Edinburgh. We had a United 76400 in Star Alliance livery. I was like a dog with two tails when the chap next to me confirmed that's what we're coming in. Wayne confirms sunny in Bishop Auckland. That's good. You're like a weather vane for me in terms of what's happening south of my current position. Oh, quite close to 8 o'clock. Tell you what, we'll get down to confirming destination unknown. Tell you what, that's Ryanair incomer from Gdansk. You've got to hand it to the setup. They're all queued to get on it. Turning burn. It's quite a good thing we've got an early start on today. I think hazing's going to be an issue. I swear that plane can't have been on the deck 20 minutes. Or have I just lost track of time? Right, let's just see what's happening in the chat. Ah, Eddie's in there with a pole. I can't see the pole on this blinking tablet. So, what do you like? The 737 or the 320? Interesting. And, although the pole is that question, I'm going to stick it out there. And I'm trying to think who made the same comment on a previous stream. I find the 737 more comfortable to travel, but just me. Yeah, I'm kind of with DB as well on the visual presentation of the 737 MAX. It's a good shout, DB. Oh, let's have a look further down. Ken's in there as well. 94 likes, 6 to the ton. So what's the challenge Nell has set? That was the Loganair plane. Right, did we achieve Nell's challenge? Is the first question. I'm a little bit behind, as you can tell. Sunny where you are, PB, up at Glanton. Lovely stuff. I think we're set fair in the northeast. I really do. I think we're due it though, aren't we? You know, we're not beating our curve here. So, if I've got this correct, this one is off to Palma. Go to the front of the bus so we can watch the ops team do their thing. Although it's going to be pushed back a fair way yet. I've got to keep an eye on the camera. Ah, PB. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Because some people in the show, the early birds, already know the answer to the question. Because Dopey Mark here let it slip. Just a momentary lapse from a blabbermouth. Anyway, by the by, just before PB, I'm going to ask you to throw yours on the table, see what you think it is. Let's just see. Wayne Tennant says, do I remember Caledonian? I do. I think I've said on previous shows, that's a livery, and I'll throw this out there, I'd love to see come back. I often reflect about the resurrection of Loganair, which is a Romanian startup now, I think flying into Gatwick amongst other places, and they've not gone for the livery, but the brand and all the rest of it, whereas I'm thinking Caledonian would just be so iconic. I'd love to see it back on tail fins. I mean, I think we said before, it would be lovely to see Chewy put Britannia on a Dreamliner, for example. But somebody, and correct me, did British Airways merge with Caledonian in the end? And I'm just wondering if they still hold the Caledonian branding. Anyway, this is quickly, now we've got a clean shot. Well, I say clean shot, it'll be a little bit misty. I'm just going to take a picture. I don't think it's going to be any good. It looks slightly haze to me, but if you like me. The freighters. Michelle, you're not the only one in the building who likes the freight. Mark certainly does too. But yeah, Caledonian, I'd love to see back. Yeah, well, Simon Kirby, remember, you're all on Scout's honour, so to speak. Oh, it's past 8 o'clock. Right, here we go then. PBs for the 320. And Nell says 101. Excellent on the likes. David Palfreyman's 320. Well, that's interesting. Mark Shepherd. Good morning to you, Mark. I don't think I've said hello on today's show. Jet 217 about to push. It's a stale comment, and that's the Jet 2 we're looking at, I'm thinking. I'm a little bit... Sometimes the chat comes in wadges. Yeah, Michelle, the slip was down to chronic fatigue. Colin Lee's Hearts. Good morning, my friend. Welcome to the stream. Anyway, that is fantastic support. I think that if we can get to 150 by the time we close, that will be awesome. But you know what? 100 is awesome. So thank you one and all. Andy P. Eddie and I were talking actually about perhaps we ought to live stream our flat pack construction activities. Bit of light relief for you all. Perhaps, and I'm not going to do it, but you know that Send in the Clowns music. In fact, I'll have a little go. Anyway, didn't sound right in my head because I could hear my feedback. You get the idea. Send in the... All right, PB, no cigar. Bold choices, both. I don't think I'd have enough time to be confident of getting to Aberdeen, but that would have been a good shout. And you know I've got a newly acquired Aberdeen fetish now. Definitely. Teesside, I think it's just a case of movement levels. So let's wave this plane off and then let me do the deed. Ryanair, good morning Ryanair. How goes it? Plenty of coffee on the go, I'm seeing. I think I'm at the point where I'm going to need a coffee infusion. On air till 9 o'clock. And then packing it all up as fast as I humanely can. And then nipping home for a brew and a couple of crumpets perhaps. And then straight back out. Destination unknown, to be revealed. very shortly, folks. But elimination, we've gone, PB's put his on the table, and it's not Aberdeen or Teesside. To be fair, Teesside would, in fact Aberdeen for that matter. The Teesside would be easier on the travel. I don't think I could do the Aberdeen in the time available, as I was saying. It does help a bit more on the charging side of things. Now I'm just on the one power bank. I've got to be pretty agile. I'm starting to think we probably should have live streamed it, the assembly of the flat pack. I can see a Loganair in front of me going somewhere. So we'll have that as well. I thought I could hear something else starting up, but could I see it? So let's see what flight radar says. So continuity of action, folks. Perhaps we're into the last hour of the show, and we've got Ken's photos from Glasgow Prestwick and Glasgow to share as well. Oh, so the earlier flight was Southampton, and this one is the Bergen one. So technically that's a telescope for me, because I miscalled that. I definitely said Southampton, we're going Bergen. Outrageous. Just how we roll at Plain Sailing Aviation. So good morning to anyone that's just joined us. Mark at the airport, Ken Alloway, Nell W, and Eddie holding the torch on moderating. Thank you to everybody that's watched the show, that just joined us. Oop, that sound tells me something good's about to happen. So a couple of departures. Loganair, Scotland's finest, with their Embraer 145 off to Bergen. I'm going to have to make a note to self. Eddie, help me make a note to self. I want to know what the seat prices are on that. Not necessarily from a Avgeeks Beano, but I quite fancy going Bergen just as something different to do moment. Bit of a rolling start there. Stole a few yards. Right. Now hanging about. Ryanair 737 to Gdansk, I'm thinking can't be far off moving. Looks like the stairs have been withdrawn. PB? Nope. Andy P, yeah. I said to Eddie, what was it you were hoping to get at the end of this? It's when you've got a few bits left as well. Kevin David Payne, good morning to you, Kevin. Welcome back to Plain Sailing Aviation. Mark at trackside. Hope you're keeping well, mate. You're giving me definitely won't be Edinburgh. UK Heroes. How goes it in Blythe, my friend? It must be sunny because the camera's roughly pointing your way, isn't it? Eddie used to love the British Midland livery. Me too. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. On the way back to the railway station at Aberdeen, from that viewing moundy bit, British Midland International, there's still some vacant offices with their sign over the door. I was going to take a picture of it just for, you know, to add to this anecdote really, but I was flaked, so I... Right, we're straight onto destination unknown once we complete waving this off. So his wheels tucked away. Okay, so let's keep an eye on this. Do shout out team if Mark fails to notice it moving. Right, let me catch the chat up. Oh, there's that question about Emirates on the tower that Eddie raised, and I've just seen Nell's comment. Let's get closer. Now, there's a lot of glare on my viewfinder. I think you're right. It's gone. Anyone taking bets as to how long it'll be before you see Saudi on the tower? I can't believe the airport won't want some commercial revenue from tower sponsorship. Once you've got it priced into your baseline, you're unlikely to want to dispense with it. Expensive whole game, this aviation. Okay, Nell confirms the Ryanair is pinging, ready to roll. Better watch that one. Right, let's get to the drum roll stuff. And without further ado, and for those of you here when I was committing my faux pas, some kind indulgence, Plain Sailing Aviation will be going to Leeds Bradford Airport. I did think a little drum roll if I knew how to add one in without some kind of copyright infringement. So I'm hoping you've got that showing on your screen. So Eddie, you can change the thumbnail picture over, mate. LAX, Simon Kirby. Yeah, I'm going to be hanging with Kevin and Rudy and Rita. I'll fetch the coffees or something useful. See which van executive producer Brad Ward sat in. Now that would be something, wouldn't it? And I'd pull it together with a 747 Lufty. But yeah, Leeds Bradford. Something different for us. So I hope you're going to enjoy it. Never been there in my entire life. So just a few little variables that everybody that ever spots, particularly streams, has when you first pitch up. But really excited. As Ken says, e-by gum. The only thing I've got to be careful of once I get going on the A1 is I don't just disappear into the music I'm listening to and carry on to the East Midlands. So if you find the show's actually from East Midlands, Simon Kirby was right all along and Mark's just missed his turn. I think it was political. I did muse on, if I'm honest, Manchester. I thought that's just about doable, but it's got plenty of coverage. I don't think I add anything by pitching up, and I think most people know that if you go on the south side, which is my preferred viewing point, it's maybe a little bit uncertain for a first live stream there in terms of signal strength and all that malarkey. Didn't feel like one to be doing in a rush, whereas this will be fairly tight, to be fair. Ken Alloway, BW, he's left the channel mark. You've got me at a disadvantage there for a second, Ken. Too busy getting overexcited about breaking the news. Finally, I've got it off my shoulders now, haven't I? Trying to hold a secret. To be fair, everybody that was in the show and heard me say it, thank you so much, folks. Eddie's going to slaughter me afterwards. Probably won't tell me where I'm going next. I'll probably have one of those, here's an envelope, Dad, you open it at 9 o'clock and read out what it says. I quite like Alexandra Wood's suggestion on the last show. What did she say? Sandown Park? Sandown Airport? It's Sandown Park where the horses race, isn't it? So this is the returning flight to Gdansk, I'm thinking. Ah, Brad Ward. Did not know that, Ken. So who's the executive producer? Because I think anybody who's not moved by the amount of kit those guys have got deployed, I'd be surprised. I just look at it and think, geez. I think I heard them say once it takes them about half an hour. I think Kevin said half an hour to pack his stuff up. Whew. I do intend at some point to go and just watch the planes and watch them in action. As I've said 1,000,001 times, I do intend to get a 747. Lufty looks favourite. LAX would be great. Not planning to stream from LAX. David Jordan just spotted you there. This Ryanair is going to Gdansk. Ah, 3 months ago, says Ken. I'll be honest, obviously since we've started live streaming, I don't have as much time to keep up with some of these developments. It's a real guilty pleasure when you can just kick back and watch somebody else's stream. So I guess, sorry if I've missed it, so do we have a new executive producer? I think Eddie and I need an executive producer. How you fixed, Ken? Executive producer Ken Alloway? You'd probably be firing the presenter as an early task. Tough decisions have to be made. what kind of weather they're heading into. Okay, it's a pretty sparse apron. I think next action has to be incoming, because that FedEx isn't going anywhere, I don't think. So let's have a look. Ms. Wolves, good morning to you. Hope you are in good order. How goes Saturday for you? Eddie, don't give up your daytime job. That's a Simon Kirby joke, isn't it? There are lots of airline movements. Oh dear. Oh, there's a serious note to it. The number of new movements at Gdansk relatively similar to Newcastle. Yeah, looking at Wayne Tennant's comment, Palmer, that's another biggie, isn't it? I don't know what it's like from a spotting perspective. Good morning, Mark Jones. Oh, your son Oliver enjoys the lives. Our pleasure. Good morning, Oliver. Mark talking. So there's a lot of Marks in this conversation. Mark at Plain Sailing Aviation. Hope your Saturday is going well. Thanks, Ms. Wolves. I mean, fine fettle. I'm a bit sleep deprived because I tend to get excited before we live stream. You think at my age I might just sort of plateau off a bit, but no, if I'm doing anything exciting, I generally don't sleep well. Right, let's get to it. So we've got a little gap. Let me just check there's no planes going to come swooping over my head, because it's not the look I'm striving for. So there's a Ryanair heading towards Eindhoven, not for us. That silences me just taking a prognosis of what is coming our way. In fact, the easiest way to do it is just to go to arrivals. Getting a bit lazy. So Belfast A320 says scheduled, but the fact it isn't showing live tells me there's an issue. 8:45 Ryanair, 8:55 KLM, and that would be show close on that. Let's just check if there's not any earliers I'm missing. So it might be questionable whether we're getting that EasyJet. I know it's only half an hour away. So in terms of departs, it looks an empty apron, and yeah, flight radar says as much. So long story short, in theory we should be seeing an EasyJet from Belfast. I can't see it on flight radar, so let's assume it hasn't left yet. The Dublin Ryanair flight looks our next incomer at 8:45. Right, I reckon we can get to the pictures. Let's go to the pictures. I'm just going to change a couple of bits over. Sound tests. Okay, cool. I've just put the shotgun off for a minute because we haven't bottomed that synchronization issue out. So this is the dulcet sounds of Mark on his new mic. Oh, hang on a minute. I'm not keeping up with things here at all. David Palfreyman, a total friend to the show, just gifted 5 memberships. David, I'm absolutely staggered, mate. You are a regular friend of the channel, and you've already super chatted us. So I was putting to my little notebook. I like to put these in the community post. David, awesome buddy. So who's won out? Andy P, congrats. Hammy Inc. Didn't know you were in the chat, Hammy Inc. I think you've won one before. You're lucky lad. Debbie, good morning Debbie, gifted a membership. Tony Craig. Cripes, this all came out the machine quite fast actually, so there we go. Alexander Elliott, excellent. Ian Nicholson has just super chatted us. Ian, I don't think I've said good morning to you. Cripes, I'm a bit behind the curve. Ian, good morning first and foremost, excuse my manners, and thank you so much for your kind super chat. As I always say to folks, everything we get goes straight back into the channel, and that's the same with memberships as well. Right, trying to collect myself. I do get exciting. David Jordan, no I didn't. I'm aware it's the Dutch Air Force had a 330 through yesterday. Can't win them all. All right, that's me caught up with that. Oh, PB, you had a good view. 500 to 1,000 feet, just above Glanton. Excellent. Did you pick the location for the flight path? Right, before we get the pictures up. Hey, dearie me. I think between David Palfreyman and Ian Nicholson, I've been put proper back on my heels. Right, pictures. So, as we've got a quick gap in traffic, Ken Alloway, our man in Alloway, very close to Glasgow Prestwick, has recently shared some pictures with us, which, let's get these in the right order, do justice to them. So I'm just going to transition the screen. This is a belter, as we call it, the moving apartment block, I think. Well, you've coined it that, haven't you, Ken? It's the A380 arriving at Glasgow. Just love that picture. Ken, if you get fed up with modding, I'm sure you could more than hold your own as a photographer. Now this one we did see on the Aberdeen stream. It's operated by Gamma Aviation for the Scottish Ambulance Service, if I remember correctly, and is, what is it, a Beach Super Air King 200. You would have thought I'd have made a note of that. I think that's what it is. I don't think I've created a new species of turboprop like Eddie did on Thursday. Of course, if I have, I'll go and stand with Eddie in the corner. And next up, a personal favourite of mine, a Loganair de Havilland Canada 6300 Twin Otter. Are these the ones, I'm not on the chat at the minute, but are these the ones that land at Barra Beach, Ken? I think you've said you've used that flight yourself, Michelle, in years gone by. It's climbed right at the top of my bucket list to find a competitively priced ticket to do the Barra flight. Anyway, it is something of a beauty. I looked this one up actually. It actually entered service with Widerøe back in February 1980. Been with British Airways Express in December 94. Does anyone remember British Airways Express? Anyway, yours truly doesn't. Or didn't. An Airbus Helicopters H145 air ambulance, also operated by Gamma Aviation, snapped by Ken at Glasgow. I'm not sure where you were standing, Ken, but I think it's, although I think you did tell me, didn't you, round on the mound, which is pretty close to their terminal. So great spot. I bet the sound was awesome. And this is moving on to Prestwick, a RAF Boeing Poseidon MRA 1 P8. This was touch and go, did you say, Ken? I think you did, didn't you? Touch and go. Lovely stuff. I do love Prestwick. It's just a long way away. Staying at Prestwick, a Royal Canadian Air Force Lockheed CC-130J Hercules. Now, do you know what I love about this? Because Ken sent me more than one Herc shot. Look at the little tiddler in the foreground. I think Ken's got a knack for this sort of thing. Proper 2 for 1. And this is my favourite. I got a proper rush when I saw this one. Anyone who doesn't feel a few extra beats on their pulse if they saw this in person, well, I wouldn't believe that would be possible. The US Navy Grumman C2A Greyhound. An absolute belter. I think I'd have walked to Prestwick to see that one. Fantastic stuff, Ken. Fantastic stuff. Thank you for sharing that. Now, what do I do now to get it off the screen? I'm just going to have to phone for Eddie. Right, I'm just going to switch the mics back. Right, you should have me back. So a little bit behind on the chat. So, ooh, how's the poll going? Here we go. I can see this now. This is nip and tuck, isn't it? 737, 51% plays 48% on a total votes cast of 68. Not much going to sway that. What have we got? Last half hour of the show? I don't know, folks. If you've yet to express an opinion, I'd say give it a go. I've definitely thrown my colours on the 737. I think it is the winglets, as DB and Ken were saying, particularly on the Max 8. But it's all about opinions. Oh, hang on a minute, Ken. Have I got confused somewhere, or has somebody else got confused? I thought I captioned the locations up correct. Although the minute you say Glasgow and then Glasgow Prestwick, I think, I don't know, it's like London Stansted stuff. Anyway, by the by. Ryanair giving those emojis an early spin. That twin otter, that is a beauty. Although, to be fair, that greyhound, wow. I was trying to look up a bit of history on that one, but because I'll put the pictures on the Facebook page, so those of you who are in Facebook can access them, and then look to put them in the community post as well. If you can actually zoom up on the greyhound, fuselage is quite interesting. There's all this little bit of script on there. It said Gerald Ford. I couldn't decide if that's how old the plane was. I think Gerald Ford was US president back in 1975 or something in that ilk. Okay, yeah, Ken, yeah, you're on the mound. Yeah, exactly. It's a good spot, that. Thanks, mate. And it was touch and go. I know you caption these up. Ken looks after me beyond belief. But of course, by the time I get down to the airport, and I've got my head full of other stuff, I did have a notepad with these things written on. Just having a quick rotation of the camera. Main terminal building. Nothing particularly lovely about that, but I'm just going to leave it there for a sec. Yeah, great pictures. Doris Pet says, good morning, Doris. You've caught us at a pause in play. David says there's VistaJet coming from Florence, but don't know if it's flying right now. I've got a feeling we're going to be out of luck on that. I think on the second part of the show, so for anyone that's just joined us, we will be packing up at 9 or perhaps slightly earlier, if we've exhausted the action, and taking the show on to Leeds Bradford Airport, back on air for 2 o'clock. So hopefully folks will be able to join us. Planning to be on air till about 5:30, maybe 6 o'clock. It'll just depend if there's a continuity of action. Yeah, Nell W. I can't rustle up anything else. That is the only aircraft I can actually see. And just Ken saying, obviously it's a treat to be able to see the 747 daily and in the shape of the cargo looks, which got more than one livery, haven't they? I'm particularly taken with the 50-year livery that Ken was able to share with us recently. So let's just see where we're at, because if it looks like we are going to be not able to show the anticipated action, Ryanair should be in imminently, so I think we've got an arrival shortly to scooch over my shoulder. I think I can see it on, there we go, yeah, it says 3 minutes out, according to flight radar 24. I'm going to call that 5 minutes for cash. So incoming, folks, from Dublin, Ryanair 737, the 737-800, I think. And I reckon, have we got anything else shaping for us? If that looks like that's the last plane of the show, we'll take a slightly earlier finish. Let you get another beverage on. Get those dogs walked, lawns mowed or whatever. Let's see what the departure picture would look like. I think it's a big fat 0 now, because that FedEx ain't going nowhere. No, we've only got one more plane really, so we're going to take an early finish on the show, folks. No point in keeping you good people away from whatever else you want to be doing. Oh, hang on, I do see that EasyJet. It's obviously taken off since I last. This might sway us actually. So the poll is 737 versus the 320. We've got one of each, and the score is too tight to call. So 737, that's going to be the next up. Matter of small minutes, pursued by a EasyJet, which is running slightly behind that. Flight radar says 17 at the minute. Let's see if it makes up any time. Eddie says 3 due to arrive before 9. What do you make the third, Eddie? I thought that EasyJet wasn't going to get off the deck, so... Ah, so the VistaJet is a Bombardier Global 6000 that comes in later from Florence. Well, it would have been nice if it had rocked up a bit earlier. I know we've got some BizJets to show you from Leeds Bradford. When I had a quick scoot through this morning, I think I saw 2 or 3 listed on flight radar. So let's move the camera around a little bit. This is what airports look like when there's nothing happening. Alibi, good morning Alibi. Catch you this afternoon, buddy. Have a good day. So, see what we're going to do. Oh, I see. It's well into finals now. I was going to wrap the show up in between times so that we can be smart out the doors. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Kevin David Payne says an A10, not the Warthog. Passing through Prestwick Sunday night. Oh, that will be lovely. So Audrey says, what do you say there, Audrey? Less than 2 hours on a good day to get to Northwest Leeds. Yeah, I think Autoroute tells me 2 hours 14 minutes. Just going to get us ready, folks. No excuse for not catching this. I think the variable is Saturday on a sunny Saturday, isn't it, really? But at least the football season's finished, so it'll take a lot of that kind of move around traffic. You can probably hear it now. Incoming Dublin 737, courtesy of Ryanair. Note to self, sunglasses for this afternoon. I thought this might come off short. Eddie, I'll ring you about 15 minutes after the show wraps up, if that's okay. Wayne asks, he wonders if the Jet 2 737-800 with the split skimiters comes to Newcastle. Just don't know, Wayne. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. Looking at the interchange between Michelle and Simon. Quiet. Simon counsels it's because it's Saturday. Oops, crikey, where's my plane gone? I swear to God, and I'm saying it in friendly company, I struggle now to differentiate the days, really. Kind of reminds me of when I used to do shifts, actually. I'm retired now, so it's a different challenge, but some of the shift patterns I've worked in years gone past, you just, whether you're coming or going. John Ellison, good morning, John. You are towards the back end of our morning stream, although we've still got this plane to park up and an EasyJet A320 on its way in from Belfast. Then we're going to pack the show up and head off to Leeds Bradford Airport for an afternoon show. So hopefully you'll be able to join us. What this plane has got its pick of gates, really. I mean, that is KLM taxiing, isn't it, really? Oh, I've just thought, when Eddie said 3 including this, I think you must be thinking the KLM, aren't you, Eddie? It's just suddenly dawned on Dopey Mark. I'm thinking I perhaps ought to have my own handle, Dopey Mark. We've got Dopey Gorp, one of our beloved moderators. Oh, Dopey Mark. Definitely Michelle. Sunglasses Mark. You could probably spot well with these without getting arc eye. Although I think for live streaming, I think you'd be better off with something a bit more sort of reactor-like, rapide type lens. How's that pole looking, Eddie? Does this Ryanair help the 737 count? Although of course the winglets are a key part of the aesthetic these days, aren't they? Remember the days before winglets? We've got gate 4. Let's see if we can get the countdown clock. In. I think we're going to quite get it, aren't we? Oh well. Okay, thanks Eddie. I hadn't realised. So 737 is the winner, folks. Democracy rocks on plain sailing aviation. And AX Plane Spotter learning cords. That is a long handle. LAX plane spotter, welcome to Plain Sailing Aviation. Hope you are doing well. Neil Smith, Ewan, I've seen you both entering the chat as well, so fabulous to have you with us, or back with us. Although LAX plane spotter, I think you're new, aren't you, to the stream? Yep. I'm Mark anyway, your host, so pleased to meet you. My son Eddie, who's in the chat as Plain Sailing Aviation, co-runs the channel with me, and of course without our ace moderators we'd be nowhere. Ken Alloway, Nell W, keeping the ship level and straight this morning. Alibi 58, who you'll have saw him briefly join us. Dopey Gorp and Alexandra Wood. No finer group of moderators do I know. Right, let's just catch up. So we are. Michelle says, not dopey Mark telescope. Oh dear. I'm just changing the subject. I think one of those spiders that was terrorising Eddie on Thursday's show is actually on my shotgun mic. That's just me flicking it off, folks. Ewan confirms EasyJet in next. Good stuff. And Michelle's putting Eddie right. Thank you, Michelle. That was not a spider, and it wasn't life limiting. You could have probably eaten it and survived to tell the tale. Right, so here we've got two. Eddie was right. So we've got, these have come out of nowhere on my flight radar. 2 EasyJets, as Ewan says, and a KLM. Do you know what? We're having all of them. We're having the lot. Now we'll swig of water, get rivals, and then we're going to pat this down tight. I think actually I'll stay in the chat on my phone, and then I can pack my tablet away while we're waiting. Should be able to do that. So after, oh hang on a minute, Doris! Just spotted your super chat. Doris, you are so kind. Another good friend to the channel. Hope you're having a great day, mate. That is a super sticker, isn't it, with the graphic? I get confused sometimes with seeing super chat and super sticker. Super sticker. Nice one, buddy. Thank you for your support. Audrey, I've got that many usual suspects, I'm upside down. I mean, you're all fantastic support to the channel, one and all. It's just, well, awesome. Right, I think the first EasyJet from Belfast, followed by Palmer, ought to be on my 6 actually. I'm just going to pull the camera around, folks, in readiness. Can't bear the humiliation of missing it. So 3 arrivals in quick succession. Quick show close. And on to the next gig. Rock and roll Mark. Get... No time, no time. Bit of a bus ride over the Irish Sea, also known as EasyJet's Belfast service. So think their sister plane from Parma will be well into finals now, so they'll need to get this one vacated. Which of course they are. We'll stay with this for another second or two, and then I'll take us to the next one. Oh, hang on a minute. Michelle Johnson! Michelle, I never know what to say. Thank you so much. Awesome support. Awesome support. Such a friend to the channel. In fact, let's put that there while I get myself collected, because my chat's just come through really fast. Alexandra Wood, good morning to you, Alexandra. Oops, it's not even got to the bush yet. However, the next one will be over this other bush, so let's get ready. I say to Eddie all the time, we are so lucky with the friends we have with this channel. Right, you can hear what's coming all the way from Parma. Sister plane from Belfast, tanking up. KLM on finals, somewhere on finals. Oops, might be an hokey cokey on the focus. So folks, I'm getting excitable again. Audrey, you sound like Mrs. Plain Sailing Aviation. I get very strict instructions on not to be chasing time, but thanks for your care, Audrey. Definitely. Show doesn't work well if I don't get there. What's it to say in F1? First to win, you have to finish. Yeah, definitely. I think the bigger challenge is making sure I don't leave here or leave anything behind here. You think it'd be a fairly simple task, wouldn't you? Right, I'll pull off this in a second for the incoming plane. I just think I can hear it. So I can. Going straight to gate 1. Right, let's hedge our bets, because you can't whack a smiley dolphin, especially on a sunny day. Proper belter. Anyway, I suppose I better show a bit of discipline. I'm just going to go long for a second so I can go back to the chat, so I can try and close out in an orderly fashion. Here we go, folks. Better get my hat straight. How you all doing? Right, let's just make sure I've missed nothing in the chat. I'm going to go bottom and go backwards. Right, all good. So, thank you so much, folks. Awesome support, one and all, particularly those of you that set their alarms and got up that bit earlier. And of course, moderators who get paid nothing. It's just commitment, pure commitment. Particular thanks to Ken Alloway, Nell W, and Eddie, who got a closer look at 6 o'clock. Good stuff, thank you. And everybody that joined us. I mean, seriously, I haven't got the time to name check you all. I wish I could. You know, you're fantastic. So, quick shout out, because you know I like to do this, because, you know, it's right and proper. We got a generous anonymous donation before the stream, so thank you. I think I've seen that person in the stream, so thanks me to you. David Palfreman, Super Chat, RCC, NZ from New Zealand, new member, joining aviator class, absolutely awesome, thank you. David Palfreman, very kindly generating 5 memberships. My handwriting's a bit scratchy here, but I think it's Alexandra Elliott, Andy P, Hammy Inc, Debbie and Tony Cray. Gets smaller and smaller as I get to the bottom of the page. Ian Nicholson, Super Chat, thank you so much. Doris Petzers, Super Chat, and Michelle Johnson, very generous Super Chat. One and all, the channel relies on you all, and I just appreciate that support. Now I better wind it up quickly. Hope to see you at Leeds Bradford this afternoon, on air from 2 o'clock, A1 willing and all that, and then we'll stay on until about 5:30, 6ish, depending if there's movements. Anyway, whatever you do in the meantime, have fun and stay safe. See ya.